Welcome to the Academic Woman Amplified podcast. I'm your host, Kathy Mazak, tenured full professor, mom of three, and firm believer that the culture of academia needs to change radically. Women are revolutionizing academia within institutions that were not built for us. If you're ready to reject the culture of overwork, kick guilt and overwhelm to the curb, and amplify your voice to make a real impact on your field without breaking down or burning out, you're in the right place. And it all starts with writing. Let's go. Welcome to this special bonus episode of the podcast. Now, we are including this bonus episode because right now our Navigate program, titled Navigate Your Writing Roadmap, is open for enrollment, but just for a few more days. So we wanted to come and give you a podcast that included 2 case studies from clients who have taken this course. Now, you're going to meet Nicole and Kimberly, and I'll get to a better introduction of each of them in just a minute. But first, I wanted to say that if you are thinking about joining our Navigate Writing Roadmap program, then I encourage you to join today. We only have a couple of more days that enrollment is open. And once enrollment is open, we are closing the doors on the Radical Cohort and we're getting started. So we really want you. We're missing just you. So come on over, find the link in the show notes, join us inside of Navigate. If you're on the fence at all, I would like to encourage you to listen to these 2 case studies. First, you're going to hear from my friend, Nicole. Now, Nicole, she's talking to us during this case study. She is on year 3 in a tenure track position. But when she took Navigate Your Writing Roadmap, she was in year 1. She's an applied linguistics professor, and she works at a teaching-heavy institution. She carries a 4-4 load, but she joined the Navigate Your Writing Roadmap because she wanted to keep her research going, even with that heavy course load. So she joined in her first year, and you're going to hear Nicole talk about the most impactful part of the program, the part of the program that has been her guiding light of her academic life since she did it. Those are her words, not mine. And also, you're going to hear Nicole's message for anyone who feels like they're only going to catch up over breaks. Is that you? Does that sound familiar? You're going to want to hear what Nicole says if you are one of those people who feels like the only way I'm ever going to catch up is over breaks. Okay, I can't wait for you to hear Nicole's story. All right. Hi, Nicole. I'm going to ask you to introduce yourself and tell us who you are, where you are in your career, and what you study.
Sure. So I am in my 3rd year right now of a tenure track position. I'm an assistant professor at Youngstown State University, which is in Northeast Ohio. And I thought I was going someplace where there would be not people coming around me. I was actually trying to avoid, I'm fostering cats during the stay-at-home order, and one of them is cranky about me being on Zoom. But sorry, someone just pulled into the parking lot, so I'm trying to go elsewhere. Okay, there we go. And Youngstown is halfway between Cleveland and Pittsburgh in Northeast Ohio. And my area of study is applied linguistics. Yay. And specifically, I do research on language learning and literacy, frequently with refugee background populations.
Interesting.
So that's my spiel.
Yay. Okay, so I'm going to ask you some questions. We're here today to talk about the writing roadmap. And I feel like you were maybe one of the original writing roadmap people. I don't know. I can't remember when you joined, but if you can remember, can you tell us why you decided to join the writing roadmap?
Sure. It was actually during my first year on the tenure track, although I didn't actually get to all of the work and dig into it until towards the end of the first year.
Sure. Yeah.
And the reason was because I was finding balancing all of the demands of the academic career very challenging. During my PhD, I had a fellowship, and I got to really just sort of live and swim in this research space. And I wasn't pulled in so many different directions.
Yeah.
And I wanted to keep my research going. And I'm at a school where the teaching load is 4-4, which can make research kind of challenging. And I needed some support. So that's why I got into it.
Great. Okay. So if you can think back to the roadmap, what was the most impactful part for you?
This is the whole reason I wanted to do this, because it was module 2. Module 2 has been the guiding light of my academic life since I did it. So for those who aren't familiar, module 2 is one where we write down all of the things that we're doing and we put them into the buckets of research and teaching and service. And it was I think I posted on the Facebook page that day, this was a really big kick in the head. It was such an eye-opener for me, and it gave me the resources and data that I needed to advocate for specific changes for myself.
Yeah.
Within my, within the setting that I'm in. So, and so it's continued, the job isn't the same from semester to semester, year to year, right? And so as things have changed for me in the last couple of years, I've continued to go back to that and to do it again and to see what am I doing in terms of balance? What can I say no to, right? And I've become much more comfortable with saying, no, this isn't a match right now. This doesn't match up with the, what I have going forward, my vision for going forward, right? And I've had people actually comment on how unusual it is for someone in their second and third year to be able to say, oh, you have such a clear understanding of what is yes and what is no. And it's impressive that you're already comfortable saying no.
Yes. Yes. I love that, because I think so many people pre-tenure are I can't rock the boat. I can't say no to things because then I won't get tenure. And there's another side to that, which is that when you stand up for yourself and when you kind of know clearly where you want to go, you actually earn the respect of people around you. So I'm so glad that, and you do that, you're doing that right now.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's, I think if it's done in ways that are respectful and, I feel like having the data about how I spend my time is very helpful. So it's not just oh, I'm so busy. I'm so busy. Yeah. I'm so busy. Right. No, it's actually I have a very good sense of where my time is going. And it gave me also the sort of the courage, I guess, to have designated writing times at my office and to close my office door and to put a sign on my door that says, I'm writing right now. Please do not disturb until 3 p.m. or send me an email and I change the time or whatever. And it was at a 4-4 teaching institution where people tend to talk about teaching a lot more and administrative things a lot more than research, at least, in my circles. That was kind of revolutionary. And people were like, wow, that's good. You're focusing on your writing. That's good. Way to go. And so it's been good.
I love that. Fantastic. All right. So maybe that's one of the things, but the next question I have for you is, what is something that you learned in the roadmap that you use frequently, every day, every week, every month, something that you go back to and use?
I feel like there's so many different pieces that have been incorporated. I think now, and I've also been on this journey and doing other things with you, Kathy. And so if what I'm saying isn't part of the roadmap, please tell me.
No, it's okay. So yeah, Nicole is was in our original Amplify cohort. So that was, she's working with us.
So is the ideal week, is that part of the writing roadmap?
I don't know either. I can't remember, but keep going. Talk about the ideal week. This is fun.
So the ideal week is where you are deciding, in an ideal week, here are the chunks of time that I'm going to spend and how I'm going to spend them, right? So if I'm teaching, I teach in the evenings, right? So if I'm teaching Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday in the evenings at 4:00, then I'm going to prep from this time to this time, and I'm going to grade from this time to this time, and I'm only going to check email from this time to this time. That structure has been very helpful for me. It was crucial during stay-at-home.
Yeah.
During the stay-at-home orders. And I revisit it. I literally get up in the morning and I look at what is my ideal day? Today is Wednesday.
Yeah.
What does Wednesday entail? And of course, I change it every semester, and probably 2 to 4 weeks into a semester, I'll change it again because it'll become more clear to me what that semester is going to look like. I think coming to the realization that the writing, like 50 to 70% of my battle with like quote unquote finding time to write is actually taming all of the other lions.
Yes.
Right. And so like not allowing email to rule my day.
Yep.
And to, set people up for the expectation. Like Nicole's email happens at 3 p.m. Like I no longer get up and check email right away. I get up, I do things, I do writing, I do some other work, and email is happening later on in the day. And the people who need to get a hold of me if there's a crisis can get a hold of me if there's a crisis in a different way.
Right. 100%. Yay. That's great. Because we do teach the email thing in the roadmap. So that's good. And I can't remember if Ideal Week's in the roadmap, but I'm going to go check. If it's not, we'll probably put it in there. Okay. So how did the writing roadmap change your writing and publication process?
Oh, that's a good question. I mean, I think I'm going to say the same things I've already said. For me, it's really a lot about process. And I think just like feeling empowered with all of those littler pieces and realizing that I think the roadmap helped me go from feeling like things were constantly coming at me and I kind of just had to figure out how to gather them and how to put them in the baskets and how to figure it all out to things are coming at me. Just because they're coming doesn't mean I have to catch them.
Yes.
Figure out what you're going to catch and figure out what you're going to let go. Right.
Yes.
And I feel like when I said taming all the other lions, I feel like that was so empowering that I started to feel like, yes, I can do this. Yes. And when I started to feel like, yes, I can do this, that translated into more confidence in my writing. It translated into, I think, a stronger voice in my writing, which is really unusual. I don't know if it's unusual, but like to me, I wouldn't think of that.
Right. That is beautiful. That confidence is like, that's one of those priceless things that and it's hard to engineer that. So I'm so happy to hear that the process of like going through the roadmap helped to build that confidence that comes out in your writing. I mean, that is fantastic. All right. So the last question is, who would you recommend the roadmap to?
Everybody. I'm sorry, that's not very helpful. I found so many really useful tools that I know that, I go back to it frequently. Like there's things that I wasn't ready to take up when I originally did it that I feel like might be ready to take up later, or that I have taken up later, because there's a lot to do all at once. And I know that developing habits takes a lot of time. And so I was trying to what are the most crucial habits for me to develop right now? So it seems like anyone who feels overwhelmed by writing, anyone who feels like the writing is constantly going to the bottom of the pile. I felt like during my first year that I was losing my edge as a researcher and as a writer and as a critical thinker. And I was like, I'm not willing to lose that edge, if I even ever really had one. I mean, that was probably my own imagination.
Of course you did.
But I just kind of felt like, it's a muscle, right? Yes. And like the muscle was wasting, it felt like it was wasting away. Yeah. So I guess anyone who feels like this writing and publishing and research, and not just the writing, but like the reading that goes into the writing and the thinking that goes into the writing and the outlining and the understanding your pipeline and where things are in the pipeline, and anyone who feels like it's constantly at the bottom of the barrel and then they feel like they're only going to catch up over breaks. Like if that's your pattern, get the writing roadmap and figure out how to have your weekends back and figure out how to have a week-long vacation, which I hadn't had for like 10 years, and learn that not every semester is going to be the stellar writing semester anyway, and like be okay with that. I mean, it makes it sound like I've got all these things figured out, but like I don't really. Like I still sometimes work on the weekends and there's ebb and flow, but I feel like I'm closer to where I want to be now.
Fantastic. Yeah. Well, Nicole, I don't want to take up any more of your time. I'm sending you the virtual internet hugs. And thank you so much. And I'll see you on the interwebs.
Sure.
Now, did you hear something in Nicole's story that resonated with you? I bet that you did. I feel like her story is very similar to so many of us who just feel like, where am I going to fit writing in, especially pre-tenure? But guess what? Focusing on your writing and figuring out how it can take a central role in order to propel your career forward is not just a problem pre-tenure. It's a problem post-tenure too. So I want to introduce you to Kimberly. Kimberly is a professor studying American Sign Language and interpreter education, and she joined Navigate Your Writing Roadmap post-tenure. She had gotten into a rut. It was a rut of like, grade things, go to meetings, repeat, right? Maybe this sounds familiar to you. And we work really hard to get tenure, and to feel like you're in a rut post tenure is a really defeating kind of place to be. She talks in this case study about how she felt like she had lost the purpose behind her academic career. So she decided to enroll in Navigate Your Writing Roadmap to help get back on track. And that actually helped her to see that, yeah, I do want to stay in academia. I have a role here. Like, this is what I want to create for my career. So have a listen to Kimberly's story. I'm Kathy Mazak. I'm here with Kimberly Hale. Kimberly Hale is a longtime roadmap student, and she has agreed to talk to us a little bit about her writing roadmap program experience. So let me just start by asking you to introduce yourself. Tell us like who you are, where you are in your career, and what you study.
I live in Kentucky. So we have the awesomest governor in the world right now during this whole COVID thing.
Yeah.
And I teach at Eastern Kentucky University. I'm a tenured faculty member. I've been in this position for 13 years. And so after tenure, I was kind of like, I'm doing all these things, but I'm not really doing anything important. It feels like sometimes, because then you get put on more of those high level things that don't relate to your real job. But I study American Sign Language and interpreter education. Awesome. And my mission is to improve the lives of deaf people through studying interpreter education. There you go.
That's fantastic. That's fantastic. Okay. So what made you want to join the roadmap when you did?
So as I just mentioned, I was already tenured, but I felt like I was in this rut of great things, go to meetings, great things, go to meetings. And like, I didn't really have a purpose in my life. So I do kind of retreats for myself a couple times a year. And in one, I decided I really do want to be a faculty member. So I used my professional development funds to pay for the roadmap at that time to help me get back on track to focus on feeling like I was really important in my department and not just a cog in a wheel.
I love that. And I love that you took that action even after tenure. I mean, so much is like hooked to tenure and nobody talks. The dirty secret is that nobody talks about you get tenure and then you're like, oh crap, this still feels awful. So yeah, I relate definitely to that. So when you think about the writing roadmap program, what was like the most impactful part of it for you?
I would say the most impactful part was that academic mission statement and aligning my things to that mission statement. And then like one of the big projects, I'm the chair of our accreditation process for our interpreter education program right now. And when they first gave me that job, I thought, oh my gosh, this is just something extra that I have to do. But when I look at my mission, that is to improve the lives of deaf people through studying interpreter education programs, I was like, even though it's not publishing, it directly fits with my mission. So I feel better with the amount of time that has to take instead of just feeling like I'm sitting on another committee or in charge of a project that I don't care about. So really it is directly related to my mission. So that helps me feel like, okay, I really can use my mission to decide what work I want to do and to make myself feel better when it's even work that I might not want to do, but it still is related to my mission.
Yeah. Especially accreditation. Man, accreditation, ugh. Tough. But you're right. It kind of is perfectly in line. So yeah.
Right.
Awesome. Okay. So Tell us something that you learned in the roadmap that you use like on a regular basis. So if not every day, every week or every semester.
Yes, I have two that are really important. One is the recommendation to create like template responses to things.
Mm-hmm.
So right after that, I created a template response that was just said, here are my office hours. Let me know when you can come. Right. And then I learned about Calendly. So now I put Calendly link, like, here are my office hours. Pick one.
Yeah.
Pick a time. Tell me when you're coming. So those are probably the most practical tips in the roadmap that I still use on a regular basis. And every time, like even when I'm grading, if I know I have to give the same feedback, so it's not about writing, but if I have to give the same feedback to multiple students, I just start writing them out, typing them out on paper, or sometimes I have to sign them because I do American Sign Language, but then I save them. And then every time a student has the same problem, I just submit that video to them or copy and paste that text. So that's been super helpful just in streamlining the process. And then people at the end of the day still get the same level of feedback as people at the beginning of the day.
Oh, 100%. That's so important. And also, like, I think sometimes that we have this idea that copy pasting things is cheating. Like obviously there are moments that that's cheating. But in this case, like copy and pasting your own feedback, like it's not surprising, right? That we keep getting the same mistakes. Students are generally doing the same 5 things, right? So there's no reason to like slog through like creating 5 different responses. Like just have a template. That's wonderful. Cool. So how did the roadmap specifically change like your writing and publishing process?
When I did the roadmap and kind of looked at the different things in my pipeline, I realized that there were some things that were really not relevant to my core mission. And I was able to easily go, okay, get off my list. So I've been more productive. I have a colleague that I do a lot of co-authoring with. We're in the middle of a couple of projects and we have a book chapter due at the end of May. And then an IRB was approved today. So now I've got a survey to send out. I know.
Yeah,
like,
that's
awesome. So it's just made me like keep things moving and keep doing things instead of kind of sometimes I would get lost in one project and sometimes you get to that part you don't like to do.
Yeah.
So you just do something else. But if you have several projects going on, then I find that I can, okay, so that's on a part that I don't really want to do. So I'm going to work on this a little bit. And by the time I do this, then I'll be like, done with that. And then I can move back to the other one and push through whatever that previous roadblock was. Maybe it was just the wrong time of day to try to work on whatever you were doing.
Yeah. Awesome. Great. Okay. So the last question is, who would you recommend the roadmap to?
So I came at it as a tenured faculty member. And before I even got a tenure track job, I was in a non-tenure track position and I had read all about like do scholarly things first and all of that. And I kind of felt like I did that at the beginning of my tenure track and enough to get tenure. And then I kind of went, fell off, right? Like you take a break that first year after tenure and sometimes it's hard to get back. So I think it works really well for that. Get reinvigorated for what you're doing there and you're not being scrutinized every single day for your productivity anymore. Pre-tenure. But I also think it can be really good for pre-tenure people. Maybe not, I mean, some people might do really well in the first year, but I think sometimes the first year is just so overwhelming, like where's the bathroom? But definitely either like in the beginning when you're like, okay, how do I really fit all this stuff in? And then after tenure to get kind of motivated to do your own thing and work at your own pace. But that first semester, I didn't even get it. I had already worked at the university, but then my first semester in tenure track job, I was like, what do you mean? I got like 4 extra committees just because now I'm tenure track. So like you almost don't believe that it's going to be that different than what you knew about. So it takes a little bit of kick in the pants before you realize you need something more.
Yeah, you don't know what you don't know in that first year. Like you're learning. It takes that first year to like realize you're like, oh, this is what the job is, and then you can kind of start to go like, wow, I really need a little help around here. Right. So yeah, cool. Well, thanks so much. Anything you want to add before we sign off?
I don't think so, but I love your stuff and I think it's awesome and super helpful. And I appreciate that you were doing all this stuff. to help us. I'll be better.
Yeah. Well, I really appreciate you as a community member. You are so active inside the roadmap and also in I Should Be Writing. So thank you so much. And
one other thing. I'm sorry. So one other thing, in the I Should Be Writing Facebook group, I am currently on a research project because of someone else in that group who said, I want some people to join research. So we are currently working on a research study about college students' experiences during the COVID situation. Wow. So any of you faculty members out there that would like information, just get with me and I'll give you that link to the survey. But yes. So in addition to like all the good stuff that we individually can get, just being part of those groups can get you connections with people. Yes. I met someone else that knits and I'm like, awesome, we're knitters. Yes. And doing research with some people from the group. So it's really been a great experience being in there.
That's amazing. And I really feel like that's what it's about. And we really need that right now. So for people who are kind of like on the fence about the roadmap and you're thinking about it, this is like a really great time to get to know other people, other knitters who are also academics. That's, what a find, right? So I actually imagine there's a ton of knitters who are also academics. You're all out there. I know.
That could be. Yeah. That could be. Yeah. I'm going to have to start our own little group.
Yeah. A subgroup. Awesome. Thank you so much, Kimberly. Always lovely to see you. And again, thank you so much for your contributions to the group. I'm going to sign off. So have a great day, Kimberly and everyone. Bye. Did you hear something that resonated with you from Nicole or Kimberly's story? Maybe you were listening and you're like, oh, I've said that to myself before. If you've had that feeling, then maybe Navigate Your Writing Roadmap is a program for you. In this cohort of Navigate, which is open just for a couple of more days, we are trying to bring together an amazing group of academics who want to radically change not only their writing practice, but also their careers and academia itself. We already have a bunch of people joined and ready to get started, and we're only missing you. So go on over to our Navigate page. You'll find the link in the show notes. Read every detail that you want to read about the Navigate program. Click the enroll button and I will see you inside. Thank you so much for spending your valuable time loving on yourself and your writing by listening to this episode. If you're feeling pulled in 1,000 directions and can't seem to carve out time to write, I've got a solution for you. Go grab my 10 ways to make time to write cheat sheet. Just go to kathymazak.com/podcast-time to learn my best quick tips for putting writing at the center of your career where it belongs. We'll link that up in the show notes. Just go to kathymazak.com/podcast-time.